Hello, this is Rabbi Mark Angel at the Institute for Jewish Ideas and Ideals. Thanks so much for checking in at our YouTube channel. Please visit our website as well at jewishideas.org. The Institute stands for an intellectually vibrant, compassionate, and inclusive Orthodox Judaism. The question that was raised recently by a number of people has related to the following problem that all of us face when we study the Midrashic, homiletic words of our sages, either in the Midrashim or in the Talmud or in our rabbinic commentaries of the Torah as well, where we come across passages which don't seem to make a good deal of sense from a rational point of view, or that are scientifically inaccurate based on our new knowledge of science. And the question that has come up is, are we obliged to listen to the words of our sages, since they were so wise and great, or are we allowed to disagree with them if we feel that we have a better insight, or we feel that scientific knowledge is now more advanced? Can we follow that knowledge rather than that of our predecessors in earlier generations? I'd like to go to what Maimonides himself taught on this topic. In the introduction to Perek Chelek, Rambam teaches that there are three categories of people who study the words of our sages. One group studies the words very literally, even those passages which are irrational or hyperbolic or very exaggerated, and they say no matter what the sages said, it's absolutely true no matter what. It could be scientifically inaccurate, it could be irrational or very strange, but they say we must believe in the words of our sages since our sages were so great. Maimonides considers this group a group of impoverished understanding. He criticizes them very sharply. He says these people disgrace the Torah and disgrace our sages. They think that they're showing honor to our sages, but in fact, they are degrading our sages by making people think that our sages said things which are clearly incorrect or things that are seemingly very foolish. Maimonides says there's a second group, and this group also takes the words of our sages literally. And because there are words that don't make a lot of sense to them, they say, well, therefore our sages are to be dismissed and we don't have to pay any attention to anything they say. And the third group, says Maimonides, is so small that it barely deserves to be called a group, and that consists of people who study the words of our sages intelligently, and they understand that our rabbis spoke often in hyperbole, in literary terms, in parables, and that they are not to be understood in every case in a literal sense. On the contrary, our sages were very wise and very sensible and very rational people, and whatever they said often had meaning other than the literal meaning. And unless we are tuned in to the deeper meanings, we miss the very sense of what they're trying to say. So as a conclusion of Maimonides' approach, we should come to the following consideration ourselves. Namely, when we study words of our sages in the Midrashim or in the Talmud or even in our biblical commentaries, we need to study with intelligence. We have brains. God gave us brains, and we're supposed to use them. We're not supposed to simply subserve our brains to the wisdom of our sages. We're supposed to approach their words with a great deal of reverence because they were great sages and had tremendous insight. And if we can fathom the depths of their words and understand the mystical allusions or non-literal allusions of what they're saying, that's wonderful. But if, when all is said and done, we find that their statements don't make sense to us, we don't understand them, or we disagree with them, or we find that the words that they said in those days are now proven to be scientifically incorrect, we should follow our reason, we should follow the findings of modern science, and that is not to insult the sages, but rather to show that we respect them really, because we respect them as wise and sage people who would never say foolish or incorrect things. It's important to note that when we approach our biblical texts, when we approach the commentaries, when we approach the words of our sages, we do so with our own intelligence, reverent to the statements of our sages, but at the same time reverent to the brains that God gave us. This applies, by the way, to the words of Midrashim, to homiletic phrases, to commentaries, where the rabbis themselves disagreed among themselves. We're not talking in this particular YouTube about halachic decisions. That's a different category, and no one should draw any conclusions from this particular YouTube as to how to understand the words of our rabbis in halachic terms. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope you found it of interest. Please visit our website, jewishideas.org, and please join our institute. We need your support and your help, and together we can do many great things. Chazak, chazak, and very best wishes to all of you.